as this guy's game progresses, if he develops that three-point shot, it's
on him to make him think, make him know that.
The NBA season is now past the midway point with the NBA All-Star break over. That means it is up to the various players in the league to go and get back in the habit, if you will, so that their teams can go and make a push for the playoffs. But while many players in the NBA, both past and present, are instantly recognizable, some honestly aren't or have undergone many changes. But why is it like that? Allow us to show you 10 NBA players you will not recognize in 2021. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 10, Blake Griffin. Let's start in the current NBA with a player that many people are shocked by in terms of his lack of impact in recent years. When Blake Griffin came to the NBA, he was set to be not just the #1 pick, but the player that would help lead the struggling Los Angeles Clippers to the playoffs and hopefully the NBA Finals. And while he did get to the playoffs multiple times, and even teamed with Chris Paul to beat Lob City, injuries and playoff woes led to him eventually being dumped to the Detroit Pistons, where he did, well, not much. In fact, despite being paid millions by the team, his production had been at an all-time low, and now he's set to be with the Brooklyn Nets as a big pickup. But the real reason you wouldn't recognize him is the fact that Griffin has become a very different player in recent years, including not having done a dunk since 2019. And dunks were what he was known for all along. So, what is going on with him? We don't know, and ironically, while he admitted that he would be getting back into shape for the Nets, he also said he would work hard on being a three-point threat for them, which is not what people want from him at all. So it appears his transformation is continuing. Number 9, Kurt Rambis. There are several legends in the NBA that are timeless and instantly recognizable. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, and even more come to mind. One of the most legendary looks in terms of the Los Angeles Lakers franchise was that of Kurt Rambis. He was part of the iconic Lakers team in the 80s, known for being one of their best defenders as well as rebounders. But what really set him apart in terms of looks was his combination of hair and horn-rimmed glasses. It was very 80s, and he pulled it off very well. However, as he eventually grew out of the 80s and became a senior advisor to the Lakers as well as a coach, he dropped the mullet that he had with him and became a more business-like presence. If you were to put the pictures of him in the 80s versus his clean-cut look, you would swear that they are two very different people. And in a way they are. Even so, Kurt is a legend and someone to be appreciated. Number 8, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard has a very roller coaster life when it comes to the NBA, because when he came into the league as a part of the Orlando Magic, he was dubbed the next Shaq and seemed destined to be a part of an NBA Finals winning team. Problem was, while he did get to the NBA Finals on his own after leaving the Magic, he went downhill in many ways. He played for multiple teams, and despite still being good, he was nowhere near the superstar level that he used to be. This past year, though, he went back to the Lakers, last time being there with Steve Nash and Kobe, and things were better, mainly because of his absolutely jacked physique. He was so shredded that he's been referred to as having the body of a Greek god, which the Lakers used to the fullest as he helped them not just get to the NBA Finals for the first time since Kobe, but they won it, getting Dwight his first NBA ring. With his new lease on life, he went on to the Philadelphia 76ers, and he has been doing okay over there, mainly because he has kept his Greek form and is able to support and back up Joel Embiid. Number 7, Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley is an NBA legend in his own right, mainly because he was a defensive presence on the court that lasted 19 seasons in the NBA. 19. Now that is not something that most players do. Most are fine with calling it at 10 because of injuries or a loss of love for the game. But not Oakley, he kept playing, whether it was for the Bulls, the Knicks, and so on. Back in his NBA days, he had a crop top going with a thick mustache, but nowadays his hair might just be called Snow White because, well, it's very white and gray, and his hair is much shorter than it was back then. Maybe that's why he's not allowed back at Knicks games. Just saying. Number 6, James Harden. This one might be confusing at first, but there's more than one way to not recognize a player, and James Harden is proving that right now. Because after yet another disappointing playoffs run with the Houston Rockets and some early season issues in regards to the new quarantine protocols, James Harden was not just out of shape, he was mentally checked out. He clearly did not care about certain things going on in the NBA and beyond it as it showed. Sure enough, he went and demanded a trade as the new season started, and specifically demanded to go and get traded to the newly empowered, via getting Irving and Kevin Durant, Brooklyn Nets. His wish was granted, and the transformation went on from there. He pushed himself hard to get back into shape, But not just that, he transformed how he played the game from how he did it in Houston. He went from the "I'm shooting all the time" leader of the team to the "I'll distribute the ball to everyone" player that the Nets needed to be a more intense threat. And it's working. Harden is even getting MVP consideration, and it's all because of how he helped reshape his body and his mind. And for the longtime fans of Harden, they're seeing this new form and wondering where this has been all this time. The Nets are climbing in the NBA rankings, and even though Kevin Durant is still plagued with lingering injuries, Harden is more than taking up the slack. Number 3, Julius Erving. The one and only Dr. J. Julius Erving is easily one of the most important players in the history of the NBA for various reasons. Not only was he a very talented player who played both in the ABA and NBA and dominated in both, it's him that you have to thank for going and making the slam dunk such a mainstream thing. In terms of looks, he was king in terms of his legendary afro that he rocked throughout his time in the league. But sadly, times change and that afro is gone. Number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. We would be foolish to not talk about Giannis here because his transformation over the course of years has not just been shocking, it's changed the NBA forever. And his story is still going, which means he might be transforming even more. When Giannis first came to the NBA, he was just a stick of a tall man that no one could pronounce correctly. Not the best way to start one's career, and to make matters worse, while he did okay in his first season, he was hardly making a splash like many thought that he would. So thus, he decided to work with trainers to overhaul both himself and his game. Now to be clear, it wasn't a quick fix. It took him a season or two to get to the body type that he wanted to be at. The result was Giannis becoming one of the most dominant players in the entire NBA. He won last year's MVP and is slated to win it again this year, which is something few players in the modern NBA can say. And the craziest thing about his transformation is that it'll only stop when he wants it to stop. So who knows how he'll look by the time we get to his final year. Of course, the downside to his transformation is that while it's been great for his game, he has stumbled in the playoffs, including the bubble playoffs that are going on where his team did okay, but Giannis wasn't as dominant as one might expect, and an injury made it so he couldn't play as well. His Bucks struggled early in the current season, but seem to be bouncing back. Now we just have to see if he'll transform in the playoffs. Number 1, Bill Russell. If you somehow don't know the name Bill Russell, look it up. He's the guy who holds the record for the most NBA titles in history with 11. Yes, this man helped the Boston Celtics win 11 titles, both as a player and as a player coach. He is the greatest in various ways, and even Michael Jordan's impressive finals cannot stack up to Russell, as the Finals MVP award was actually named after him. Sadly, now that he's almost 90, he's nowhere close to his player form and his age is definitely showing, but he's still one of the best of all time, and that is saying something. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at how the NBA players of the world aren't all how you remember them? Do you think that some are better off in their new forms and positions? Do you think that they'll be able to go and make their teams better in their own ways? Who do you have being the favorite going into the NBA playoffs? Let us know in the comments below, be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.